Oh man, Elliotte! Why? Come the freak on, Elliotte Friedman. He's gotta... I'm telling you, man, he's gotta have some sort of an impulse to make Canadiens fans feel so hopeful, only for the inevitable tides of life to come and rip all that hope away. Elliotte, why'd you gotta open up Pandora's box? You probably can read, and you probably saw the thumbnail of this video. Today, we are getting back into the Montreal Canadiens on a very bright and special day. Why? Because the Habs have preseason hockey today, baby. They're going to be playing off against the Pittsburgh Penguins, and how fitting is it that we're going to be talking about the Canadiens and the Penguins in the latest video today, because we're going to talk about them here. We're going to make a post-game video after Montreal-Pittsburgh concludes. But this video right here, oh boy, it's all thanks to Elliotte Friedman and Arpon Basu as well. Can't forget about him, because both of these NHL writers and analysts recently gave their 2 cents on Pittsburgh Penguins captain Sidney Crosby, and whether or not he can actually find himself in Montreal. Not like, today. Yeah, that's right, the Habs and Penguins are playing today at the Bell Center. However, at the time of recording this audio, I'm not sure if Sidney Crosby is going to be in the lineup. Anyways, you know what I mean. Let's head over to what Elliotte Friedman said about Sid the Kid on Le Poche Bleu last week. I know the Montreal speculation has exploded. I don't think it's impossible. If Sidney Crosby agreed to be traded, I think Montreal would be on a very short list of teams he would be willing to consider. That's it. That's it. Oh boy. Elliotte Friedman going out there and stirring the pot one more time. Of course, this tweet from NHL Rumor Report just cites one small comment that Friedge made on one show. It's not like he went out there and started parading this all over social media. It's very likely that the folks on La Poche Bleu just straight up asked Friedman about that, and he responded saying, yeah, it's not impossible. If he does agree to be traded, if he does decide that he wants out, Montreal's probably on the list of teams that can be in the mix. Now, furthermore, there was a recent piece published on The Athletic by Arpon Basu, and this was posted and talked about on the Montreal Canadiens subreddit. The question is, how realistic is a Sidney Crosby trade for each NHL team? For the Montreal Canadiens, according to Basu, it's a strong possibility. The Canadiens have reached a point in their rebuild where they almost have too many prospects and not enough potential spots in their lineup in the coming years. That pipeline would provide a major boost for the Penguins' rebuild if Crosby were to ever ask out, and the ascending nature of the Canadiens could satisfy Crosby's desire to win. It would also be a fairy tale ending to his career to lead his boyhood team to a Stanley Cup. It just fits in so many ways. The boyhood dream has come true for Sidney Crosby. Okay, he's won multiple cups. Like, what do you mean boyhood dream? Okay, I get it. Montreal, right? Boyhood dream. He cheers for the Habs as a kid. This will be the ultimate whipped cream with cherry on top for the illustrious career that belongs to Sid the Kid Crosby. But a lot of this is difficult to argue against, right? I mean, you think about the Montreal Canadiens, you think about the prospects, the amount of guys that they have, the amount of good, solid pieces that are coming up in the pipeline, and just what that could do to a team like Pittsburgh, where they've been pretty tough in regards to getting many prospects and developing guys. So, yeah, they can use as much help as they can get, especially since some of their main guys, they've been main guys for a while, are a lot older. Sid, Gino, Chris Letang, Carlson. They got Fleury back, for crying out loud. Even he's old, too. I kid. I get it. He's not going to be there long term, or at least I don't think he is. Anyways, if the Penguins were to decide to just go all in on the future, they say to Gino, yeah, sorry, we're not going to re-sign you. This is going to be like your last year here. If the Penguins are already out of a playoff spot by December, It's like we talked about yesterday. Let's say the Geno Malkin trade talks start to become a little bit more enticing. It's already been reported that Montreal, Florida, and Tampa have been interested in him. What about Crosby? What about Rickard Rakell and Brian Rust and everybody else of value to this team that has already been in the trade market? Kyle Dubas can do a rebuild. He can grab a whole bunch of picks and prospects and stuff for guys. The only problem is right now he's the only team selling and his prices are too high. So once other teams start to feel like they are also not going to be able to compete for a playoff spot and they want to just tap out and go the Gavin McKenna route, once other teams start selling off their top 6 forwards, maybe that incites Kyle Dubas to be a little more liberal with the amount of stuff he receives in return. Not super hardball, hey, I want this prospect, this amount of draft picks, this caliber of a player. Maybe you can lower your prices a little bit when the market becomes a little bit more seller-heavy. And buyer-friendly at that, too. Sidney Crosby, I'm not saying he's going to go join Montreal with Evgeny Malkin, but to have Elliotte Friedman even go out there and say that, yeah, I think Crosby, if he were to get traded, he were to ask for a trade, he were to be willing to get traded, he'd probably have Montreal in that short list. Not that we needed any confirmation from Elliotte Friedman in particular. That piece of information, I think, is so readily available. It's such a logical conclusion to make. It's like you ask anybody who has been reasonably paying attention to what's been talked about the past few months, hey, if you were to guess, where does Sidney Crosby decide to get traded to if he willingly opens himself up to that? People are going to say either Montreal or Colorado, man. It's either Nathan McDaddy McKinnon or the history with his dad and his childhood dream. It's like John Tavares with the Toronto Maple Leafs bedsheets all over again. If Crosby ends up joining McKinnon, by the way, in Colorado, I'm very interested as to how any potential Western Conference final matchups with the McDavid-Draisaitl Oilers and McKinnon-Crosby Avalanche teams would fare off. That seems like a really good, total blockbuster matchup. You have 4 of the top forwards, let alone top centers in the sport, facing off against each other with Cale Makar and Evan Bouchard in net. And then the goaltending matchup leaves a lot to be desired there. Yeah, Stu Skinner versus Mackenzie Blackwood. Oh, it would have been worse if it was Alexander Georgiev, don't get me wrong. But anyways, Sidney Crosby and Montreal also is a possibility here. Even Arpon Basu says that out of all the teams in the NHL, it's probably a lot more likely that Montreal gets it done. So at the end of the day, this is reigning true in the same way that the Connor McDavid situation is reigning true in Edmonton. It's all going to boil down to the player. That's it. We know Kyle Dubas. We've seen what he did in Toronto and in Pittsburgh so far with, you know, bringing back Fleury and all these other guys with the Maple Leafs, Jared McCann, expansion draft situation, etc. If Sidney Crosby said one day, hey, Kyle, it's not working out for me here, I want out, Kyle's not going to go out there and deny Sid anything. Anything that Sidney Crosby or any of his players want, Kyle will give it to them, even if you can debate whether or not it's actually a good decision for the hockey team itself. He's just that player-focused and oriented. It's like McDavid in Edmonton. He's going to sign when he chooses to. If the Oilers could have signed McDavid 2 weeks ago, they would have done it. They could have done it for max value. They didn't want to negotiate with this guy. It's Connor McDavid. Just give him whatever he wants. So, at the end of the day, we're starting to see just how strong top-tier players' power can be around the National Hockey League. If you're that good, if you're that sought after, you can make some demands here and there, and nobody's going to think it's unreasonable. It's like, oh yeah, if Sidney Crosby wants to leave the Pittsburgh Penguins, nobody's going to get upset at him. Everybody understands why. So with all this in mind, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Elliotte Friedman's Sidney Crosby update in regards to the Montreal Canadiens? And Arpon Basu also speaking out about the same thing here. Do you think it's possible? Do you think it's going to happen? If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, then hey, feel free to leave a dislike as well. They both help out with the algorithm. Also, comments are greatly appreciated too. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on. And bye.